Well, that was a long series. I guess this is Russia now. Hi, my name's Sebastian. I'm with Vision Denial, and this is the Road to MSI, where I watch every playoff game from all the 12 regions before MSI happens. Yes, even that one. Now, I have not a great relationship with the region of Russia here, or the LCL, or the Commonwealth of Independent States, whichever one you want to use, or Russia's awkward cousin, or sorry, Europe's awkward cousin, as opposed to what was the regions that was? It was like, oh yeah, the PCS is North America's awkward cousin. The LCL is uh, Europe's awkward cousin. Now, I have a not a great relationship, mostly because this region tends to be very hyped up, and like I can understand the hype, right? There's a wealth of players here who play on the same like server as the European players, and a lot of these players actually had played in Europe previously before there was like this weird separation of the regions, and Russia itself became a much bigger region instead of just like a really tiny tournament region. Um, that being said, both of these teams used to be ex-European teams, now Russian teams, and they're like very flagship Russian teams. We got ourselves here the Unicorns of Love. Josh, I know you're a big fan, even though I'm gonna harp on them quite a bit for a while. And then Gambit, the team that used to be known as the Korean Killers, but they're a husk of their former selves. Now, when I talked about these teams last year for the World's playoffs in my like text wall posts on Facebook, I mentioned how it was hard to read these two teams until their grand finals, because they both dumpstered their previous teams so hard it could be akin to the Globetrotters beating up you know a high school basketball team. Not the case anymore. Unicorns of Love are virtually the same team as last year, save for their ADC has changed from Gambit's ex bot laner to now Unicorns of Loves, and I would think that would be a seamless transition, right? Like you would just still continue the globe trotting, right? Nope. These are the slowest teams I have ever had to witness on this patch. Oh, oh man, it's really frustrating. So a couple of things that I like. Not any of the drafting. Unicorns of Love got away with picking virtually the same draft 3 out of 4 games in a row, and Gambit kept picking things that uh, different things, but not differently good things. They would just be whatever. And even then, Unicorns of Love picking the very similar drafts over and over again weren't particularly good drafts. Like it changed a little bit so that it would be better and gave them more options, but it wasn't great. Vision, when I made the complaint last year about the way that the Russian teams were playing, I called it like the skirmish ward line. So if the map, what's the map? So like if the river is like this, right, and you've got red side and blue side, wards would just shift up and down as the game would go. Maybe tilt and angle depending on like what kind of turrets were taken, but it would still just shift up and down the map. We got a lot more of that in this series. It was a little better. There were times where like the warding was deeper than expected, and there was like a lot more in terms of flanking wards, and I can appreciate that. But that mostly was done by Gambit, who used none of it. Zero. They would have full information, jump into a fight they knew they would lose, and then lose the fight. Same thing with neutral control. Gambit had the most consistent ability to set up for neutral objectives. Doesn't matter. Once it was secured, they had no exit plan. They ended up losing every fight because they would engage in fights that they would not win. They wouldn't play to their win conditions. They game... What is it? they picked. Yeah, game 3, Gambit picks Nasus on B5 on blue 5th pick for a 1-4 composition. The Nasus did nothing. They made it team fight with them the entire time until 30 minutes into the game. Yes, 30 minutes into the game before they actually got a turret. They had no turrets for 30 minutes on a 1-4 composition. I'm so tired of these teams who will pick things that are spicy that just it doesn't work out because they don't understand the approach, the win condition, or like the compositional style that you would have to make it work. And this game felt very much like two teams that were playing in the region just so happened to qualify, and boom, they were just memorizing how the other team would play. And honestly, if Unicorns of Love makes it to the international tournament for the 6th time in a row, 6th time? I don't know. It's usually one or the other. It's rare that sometimes like a different Russian team qualifies in one of these two. Then like I won't be surprised, but I also won't expect them to do better. I had some hopes during the Worlds because they showed, even if it was hard to evaluate, they showed at least some competency into how they would play into their win conditions. But like they would pick compositions that weren't necessarily very strong in team fighting and team fight. They have no sense of how to properly set up for neutral objectives. They just kind of show up and then hope that they take good or bad engages, doesn't matter. They have like a sense of we can out team fight, which I guess is the case. I will say Unicorns of Love have like at least a sense of how to do minion and wave manipulation so that they're able to like capture objectives that are appropriate. But it doesn't go so far as like right before they want to pick off somebody in a team fight. Not for neutral, just pick off somebody for a team fight, or when they have Baron. And there used to be a time where regions who were team fight heavy and that's the only thing they did would like be middle of the pack, right? You would have North America, Europe, China, Brazil, be like middling of the pack so far for a long time. Heck, even like occasionally a Southeast Asian country or team would like they would all be team fight centric and like different kinds of team fight, but like that would be what qualified them. And then you would have like the LMS and Korea being like the big brain ones. And the LMS wouldn't be necessarily as good, but like you could tell that the cerebral game was there. And like regions aren't qualified as such anymore because you can't survive. You need to have the skill expression to be able to execute some of these complex plays. And you have to be aware of what makes a situation good or not good to fight in. So you need you need both. You can't just be the muscle team or the cerebral team. You have to be both to succeed. Unfortunately, I get none of that from this region. At least with some of the smaller regions, and this is a tier 3 region. Like even the tier 4 regions, I have a sense of like when some teams are both the cerebral and the muscle, but like Russia only has 4 teams in their playoffs. They're not the only region with 4 teams in their playoffs, but like the fact that half of these, like 50% of these teams here, right? Only these 2, and they only have 3 playoff series to play off to like work off of. So the other 2 teams, who are, let's see here, LCL, Crow Crowd and One Breath Gaming, who were also the same 2 teams from the World Championship, because I remember them. They're just now on the opposite side of the bracket, which tells me that like these 2 teams weren't as dominant as they were beforehand. Those 2 teams need to show at least some competency in terms of like map play, or I'm gonna get really worried about the way that Russia's gonna be able to compete in MSI. Yep. You guys let me know what you think in the comments down below. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. We're heading back to Europe, and what a breath of fresh air that'll be. I'm recording this on the 11th of April, and yes, I'm very far behind. There's literally just a week left before a lot of the playoffs finish off. But like this weekend is like the densest of the weekends, because even on April 4th, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There is also 9 playoff series that are happening on April the 4th. So, regions are busy. Very much so. I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one. Bye.